Okay, everyone. I am so excited to introduce you to Bridget Hom. So Bridget was introduced to us by Cyrus. Again, thank you, Cyrus. And Bridget is an energetic speaker, and she has just created this entire career of helping people and serving people. And what's fascinating is that she has a background in theology. And that, really blew me away. And she spent a lot of time with the Catholic diocese and then launched into coaching and serving people in that way. And Bridget and I had a couple of conversations. And what really just was key to me is her energy and her clarity is so compelling. And it just gets me pumped up every time I think about the conversations that we have. And I'm so very excited to share Bridget with you. So Bridget, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Christy. And I really enjoy all of our times together. And Cyrus, you are a master connector. Thank you so much for connecting us, because without building relationships, we wouldn't be here today. And it's all about relationship building when it comes to finding the right job, to finding the next opportunity. Honestly, I met my husband in Zoom Business Networking, so you never know what building relationships is going to do. I'm going to give you a little bit more of a backstory before I get started with this training here with you guys. So during the reinvention evolution, as I like to call it, of 2020, I moved out of my big, beautiful home, was on my way to getting Zoom divorced, moved into an apartment with my 3 young boys. I lovingly call them my savages. Anyone who has boys here, you understand. And virtual school became a reality. And I had a placement agency in the seniors industry. And as you know, you could not go near a senior citizen at that time. And I got a random Zoom link. And for those of you who know Zoom really well, I had no idea what that was. I'm just going to tell you right now. I'm like, click, 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 register. Oh my gosh, where do I show up? I figured it out, showed up Thursday morning at 8 a.m. This gentleman, Brian, said, "Hey, Bridget Hom, can you give your 30 seconds? And I'm like, dang it, he mispronounced my last name. And I said, what am I going to pitch? Do I pitch my placement agency, or do I pitch my side hustle, Bridge to Freedom Coaching? And honestly, my brain made a decision for me. And I said, Bridget Hom here with Bridge to Freedom Coaching. Are you ready to level up? And I had 6 clients within 6 weeks. My 90-day Find Your Freedom program was born. My self-paced program was born. Group speaking, live speaking engagements, motivational talks, group sales trainings, leadership and team building trainings. My book, Stuck on Ready, was born. And here we are today. And as she said, I also have a background in theology as well as journalism. And I worked at Starbucks briefly. I don't know if that's even relevant, but I feel like it's important. And because we all enjoy coffee, right? So that's a little backstory. And so today, what we're talking about is how to stand out and be the 1% who gets hired. But before we even get into the bulk of this training, I want to encourage you in something. When you're living in your headspace, as we do every single day, sometimes it's easy to sell ourselves on limiting beliefs. And what happens when we sell ourselves on limiting beliefs? We buy them because we're our number one client. We are all in sales. And when we buy limiting beliefs, we sell others our limiting beliefs. The economy, it's in the toilet. Do you know that? There are no jobs available. How many of you have told a loved one that on a phone, just random conversation? But I want you to know that your brain is always listening and you are always creating a program. This is what I like to say. I like to say your conscious mind is your salesman, and he sells your thoughts, words, actions, and emotions to the subconscious mind, the client. And the client buys everything the salesman is selling. So what you do with that program, the subconscious mind creates your reality, your relationships, and your pursuit of business. Always, always, always. So ask yourself right now, what have I been selling myself about finding that next opportunity? If you've been selling yourself limiting beliefs and buying them, they're expensive, right? And you literally take out of your Serenity account, your Sanity account, and your real bank account. So the first thing to do is pause with a purpose and stop selling yourself limiting beliefs about anything that's external. Stop living under the influence of circumstances, environments, situations, toxic thoughts, other people's opinions, and start to become the influence in your headspace first and foremost. I like to say hire and fire the right mental team. And if you're open to it, I would love to do a fun exercise with you. Does everyone have a pen and paper in front of you? Yes. Okay. I see like 7 people on the screen, so I'm going to go with all of you. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Fantastic. Thanks for that. So the truth is, every morning, if you put days and days and weeks together where you haven't had that opportunity and you're working, you're hustling, it's easy to sell yourself limiting beliefs, but also to put those days together and hire sabotage on your mental team and feel discouraged and feel like, why am I even going to take action in this today? So the first thing to do is to get intentional with your day. And how you do that is doing something I like to call the brain dump. And it's a 2-minute writing exercise where you get out of that human doing that sabotages you're doing all day long, and you become a human being again. You become intentional. I like to title mine Dear God or Dear Universe, wherever you're at. And you just empty out your headspace. And I'm going to set a 2-minute timer for you. And why do we set a timer? Because the brain can only focus on one thing at a time. And if you're trying to keep time at the same time, you're not going to access your subconscious mind and see what you've really been selling yourself right now about your day. So I'm going to set the 2-minute timer right now, pens and papers, and just empty your headspace on paper without judgment. 2 minutes on the clock. And that was 2 minutes. So my question to you is, what did you notice about yourself? And you can answer yourself about that right now, because it's not about what did I write down. It's about what did you notice about yourself? Because you want to gather that self-awareness to get into the right mindset as your launch pad for going out and searching, for staying inspired and motivated, to show up radically authentic in front of that interviewer. I want to encourage you. Yes, confidence. Absolutely. 90% of your communication is nonverbal. 90%. So if you find yourself showing up in interviews thinking of, man, I have all these credentials. I have everything that's suited for this job. I'm absolutely ready, but why haven't I been hired yet? And then you bring all of this negative energy non-verbally, and then you show up seeking their approval. seeking the interviewer's approval. And when you show up in that, we show up insecure. We show up with a lack of confidence. And we show up not creating that even exchange of energy, which you absolutely want to have in an interview because they feel it. If they could smell, they smell insecurity, right? And that's just the truth. So you want to break free from that. You want to get that intentionality, get back into your human beingness, empty the head trash, and do a brain dump. This will serve you when you wake up in the morning so that you can launch in the right direction, make empowered decisions to get to your ultimate destination of where you want to end up. But it will also be helpful before an interview so that you can clear that headspace, notice how you're showing up, and then decide how do you want to show up. So I encourage you to practice the brain dump. The second tip I want to give you is embrace yourself now and stop operating in the shadow of your past. You know, the truth is you have accomplishments, you have a unique perspective that you've gained over the years, but it's easy to start living in resentment, in fear, in sabotage. And the truth is you have so much more knowledge and insight than younger candidates that they simply cannot match, right? But oftentimes we feel the need to share all of that as soon as possible, as fast as possible with someone that we want to get hired by, right? And it's the same in sales. You only want to walk through the proverbial door that your interviewer opens for you. You only want to walk through the proverbial door that the person in front of you opens for you, right? If you fire hose them with information, hey, I've got this, I can do this for you, etc. It's like, whoa. Pause with a purpose, because the truth is the person who masters the power of the pause has the most power in the room. Think about that. Have you ever been in a room with people and the person who's the quietest holds the most power? That's the truth energetically, because people with confidence are able to pause with a purpose. So think about that. Yes, I like that, Amy. Thank you. All right. So that's really, really important. You want to walk through that proverbial door that your interviewer opens for you. Be able to pause with a purpose. Something else that is kind of like, I really don't want to do this, but it's really important to my skill set. Master the latest trends and technologies in your field. While your experience is valuable, it's important that you can adapt and stay current with industry developments. Show that you're tech savvy. If you want to pursue a specific job, look at the qualifications within that field. You could find anything on YouTube. Christy probably has it at her boot camp. So important to be able to master the technologies. Do what you don't want to do to get what you want, right? And it is a mindset shift. You know, I work with so many individuals from 18 to 75 right now. And it's so important to sell yourself on this is going to get me to that next step of what I want to do and where I want to get to in my destination. So find someone who can easily help you. Go on the YouTube, right? The Google, you can find anything these days to learn anything you want. And just here's the thing, set a 30-minute timer to learn that specific technology, even if you do it once a day, because the timer breaks you free from sabotaging yourself and never doing it. Your brain's like, oh, I can do anything for 30 minutes, right? So setting a timer to get anything done that you want to accomplish, even the laundry, right? I have like 10 loads of laundry at all times, okay? Set a 30-minute timer. It will save and change your life because you will become extremely productive, and proactive, which will lead to profitability eventually. That's just a side tip, task management strategy I wanted to share with you. Yes, absolutely. You have to be comfortable in your own skin. Dress for success and believe in yourself 100%. I'm going to touch on that in a second. Network like a pro. I have a book recommendation for you. Have any of you heard of the book Who Not How? All right, just go look it up on Amazon. Who Not How. It's the mentality that building relationships leads to revenue. Building relationships leads to revenue. And it's, who do I know right now? Write down, during our time together right now, write down 5 people who could possibly connect you to somebody else. Start reaching out on LinkedIn. Say, you look like someone to know, something like that. Cyrus, I think that's how we met. So say you look like someone to know. Build relationships, because building relationships leads to revenue. And that book, Who Not How, will be incredibly encouraging for you to think outside of that, the sabotage in the box mentality, right? Because when we get sabotage in our headspace and we hire him on our mental team, we take its advice. You shouldn't connect with anyone today. Well, why not? Well, I mean, it hasn't served you in the past. Why would you do it now? Then you're like, oh, you're right. Here's some more out of my Serenity, my Sanity account, and my real bank account, right? So you want to be intentional about building those relationships, because you never know where they will go. So when you do your brain dump, and actually, I want to touch on Dan, when you dress for success every day. Put on your blazer. Put on your blazer when you go out the door to go grocery shopping. Look important, because it will make you feel important. And you want to sell yourself on your importance before anybody else. You are the one you have to sell yourself on, because then it will be very, very easy to take that next step. If you think about it in terms of stairs, it's just one step up to convince somebody else that you're important and can absolutely help them. All right. So who, not how. Please put that in chat if no one has done that yet, because you never know who will have an opportunity or referral for you. Next, how to become the inside expert before even stepping into the interview. I want to tell you a story. So my husband works in real estate, and he was telling me a story about this realtor. And this realtor wanted to land this huge client. And this client has a multi-million-dollar house. And so what this realtor did was he realized he had a book. He bought his book, read the book. And before he even reached out, knew absolutely everything that he possibly could about this prospective client. Ask yourself right now, before you want to go for an interview, do you know everything about that company to the point where you can talk about that company as if you already work there? Have you connected with all the employees on LinkedIn? What have you done to make it look like you're already a part of the culture? Fantastic. Celebrating you. So what is it that you need to learn? Who do you need to learn about to start to close that gap between you and your prospective next opportunity? So here's what he did. I love this story. You're going to love it. So he ended up meeting with this guy. And here's what he did. He had the whole sales conversation with him, right? Because the truth is, you're selling your interviewer on you. They are your client, not the other way around. You're propositioning them to work for them. You hold the power, the authority, and the credibility. Then it's all about just the relatability at that point. But he said, at the end of this time with this prospective client, he wanted to sell his multi-million-dollar house. He goes, I never leave an appointment without a signature. And of course, you and I are all thinking, signature to partner in this deal, right? And then before the client could even open up, the prospective client could even open up his mouth, the realtor whips out his book to get a book signing from his own book. And so that sealed the deal, because it was the relatability that created that credibility and authority. You always want to focus on those 3 words: relatability, credibility, and authority. So that's very important. Hey, thanks, Sage. I appreciate that. So it's very, very important to become the expert before stepping into the interview. Learn the culture. If you're creating a resume, make sure your objective is very much in alignment with their company culture, their values, and make it look like you already work there. Okay? Very, very important. Because you want to show them how your expertise can serve them, how you can serve them with solutions. And start walking around in a blazer, okay? You are important. You want to start selling yourself on that so you can experience that mindset shift. So you could be motivated and inspired to go out and realize that your opportunities are everywhere. Your opportunities are everywhere. So all you have to do is build those relationships, be stuck on ready to create relatability, authority, and credibility. It always starts with mindset first. All right, I think I'm going to do a quick recap and then let's get to some questions. Does that work? All right. So number one, stop selling yourself on your limiting beliefs and don't sell others on them either, because they will buy them. It's not about the economy. It's not about there's no jobs. It's not about I'm lacking in this skill set. None of that. Those are all limiting beliefs. You have the authority, the credibility, and the relatability to stand out and be the top 1% to get hired. It's all about motivating yourself and to get into empowered action. Then your number one goal becomes to show up well and authentically in front of anyone. Number two goal is to empower that person in front of you, no matter what. And, you know, before I finish this recap, I want to share a fun story about this with you because I think it's empowering. So I went to Starbucks, which apparently I go to all the time, and I saw a gentleman there. He rolled in with his Batmobile wheelchair. Okay. Now, I can't even make this up. Rolls in, it's decorated as Batmobile, and I have a problem with direct eye contact. So I looked directly at his eyes and I said, "Hi." He said, "Hi, do you like my Batmobile wheelchair?" He does a full 360. And I said, "I think it's fantastic." He starts telling me horrible jokes. Okay. And I can't help but laugh at horrible jokes. Okay. I think they were mostly, dad jokes, you know the type, right? And I am starting to laugh hysterically with this gentleman. Now, I could easily have ignored him, right? But I wanted to make sure that he had a great day. So what happens next? He goes, "Hey, can we meet again?" And I said, "I don't know. Here's my card. Text me whenever you're here at the Starbucks. And if I can show up, I absolutely will." And so what happens next? I go to a speaking engagement that night. And a woman comes up to me after I'm done speaking and she goes, "Were you at the Starbucks today with the guy in the Batmobile?" And I said, "That is very descriptive. And yes, I was." She goes, "You made that guy's day. He was flashing around your business card, telling everybody about you at that Starbucks. And can we talk? Because I liked what you had to say." So you never know. You never know who's going to lead you to that next opportunity that can change your life, because empowered people empower people. And when you make that your goal to build relationships, to empower that person based on your area of expertise, opportunities just come your way and you're able to see them clearly. So let's get back to the recap. So embrace yourself now. Stop operating in the shadow of your past. Your expertise only serve your interviewer as much as the proverbial door that they open for you. So always be mindful of that and realize that you're propositioning them. Okay. You are going to bring so much to the table and you want to see if you're in alignment. I say this in sales also. There's no such thing as rejection or acceptance in the world of opportunities. There is only alignment. Only alignment. So if you've gotten a lot of no's, that means that you're not in alignment. They've done you a favor. But there is something in alignment for you. And when you have your headspace clear, when you hire the right mental team, when you show up well and authentically, when you dress for success, it makes a difference. Huge difference. Network like a pro. Who, not how mentality. Who can connect me to my next opportunity? Not how am I going to get there? Master the latest trends and technologies in your field. Set a 30-minute timer so that you could break free from sabotage of saying, "I don't want to do this, but I can do this for 30 minutes. It will help you to be productive, proactive, and profitable. And become the expert before stepping in the interview. Remember the story of the realtor. Get inside their company as much as possible. So you already look like you've bridged the gap between you and them and their company culture. And be able to pause with a purpose because you'll have the most power. All right, so I want to open it up for questions.
Okay, so everyone put your questions in the chat and I'll get it started. You know, Bridget, not to oversimplify, but what you're talking about is really truly tapping into your heart, right? And tapping into your true self and being as authentic as possible, and then focusing on the other person. So you can't focus on the other person until you really have that connection with yourself, right? And I love what you said about the even exchange of energy. It's so interesting, isn't it? So many people think that it's the interviewer and the interviewee. Like, I'm going in at a lesser position than the interviewer. And that's not it at all. Can we talk just a little bit about that? Because that's where I think so many people get stuck in their head, is that I'm going in wanting a job. And just thinking, I want them to like me, you know, however way that we say that. But that immediately puts, I think unconsciously, that puts us at a lesser position. So how do we always remind ourselves of that?
So I have a couple of different strategies that I do share in my program, and you want to mentally rehearse who you are. You want to know your best skill set. So you clear your headspace, know your best skill set. And I really like how you drew attention to that. Most of us feel like we're at a disadvantage when we go into an interview, right? We feel like we are the lesser. We're asking them for help. But that's the total limiting belief. You are going to do them a favor. Let's just be real and raw here for a second. They need you. They need your expertise. And all you have to do is start showing up like that. I want you to show up like you're making millions. You know, in sales, in the world of business and entrepreneurship, you may have like $3 in your bank account, but you show up like that's 3 million. So you have to mentally rehearse and sell yourself on your excellence, on your area of expertise. And then just say, is this something that you want? And be ready to say after they present, you know, getting them problem aware and solution seeking. I say this in sales conversations all the time. If you can get your interviewer problem aware and solution seeking and talking about the problems within their company with you in front of them, and then you are able to say, I can absolutely help you with this. And then present your solutions on what the vision is that you see for helping them. Congratulations, you're probably going to close that conversation in your favor. So getting your interviewer problem aware and solution seeking, if you create that relatability where they're able to share their problems with their company with you, you're on your way to saying, I can absolutely help you with this. This is what I see. This is what I see helping you.
Dan, you have a question.
Well, thank you very much, Bridget. That was an excellent talk. But I want to carry over something from yesterday's office hours. And you know, we talk about dress for success, but you've got to be comfortable in those dress clothes, right? You have to be comfortable in your own skin. And you just reinforced an interview I had this past Tuesday. And I went in, I was in a blazer, dress slacks, dress shirt, and the gentleman that interviewed me was in a dress shirt and jeans, right? But I didn't let that affect me because he's, you know, he runs a security integrator, right? So he might have to go to the field and watch his people do installs or whatever. So it makes sense. But the one thing I say about myself is I build strong, trusted relationships. And that's exactly what I did in the interview. And we're going to meet again next week at a trade show. So you just reinforced for me that my mind, my mindset, my headspace was all in the right place. So thank you so much.
Excellent, Dan.
So here's another question. How do you manage the fine line between coming off as confident versus arrogant? I always worry about crossing the line, but that also might be self-limiting.
Great question. It's all about walking through the proverbial door that interview opens for you. So answer their questions and then be comfortable with the pause afterwards. Don't feel the need to overshare. That's the difference. So pausing, answering their questions well, and be able to say, that's a great question. Many interviewers haven't asked me that, and I really appreciate you asking that. So the gratitude and the authority can come together, and be able to pause with a purpose after they ask a question. Let that space speak for you. That's the best advice I can give you.
And Bridget, what you're talking about, what you talked about before, is that even exchange of energy, and that when you're when you're confident, you have to trust that you're not being arrogant, right?
It's always, sometimes when we feel like we're being arrogant, it's typically we've hired the wrong mental team that day. So and then arrogance and fear kind of go hand in hand. So brain dumping before something like this, and thus acknowledging, like, this is who I am. Like, for example, my mental rehearsal is I'm a powerful influencer, a master connector, and a master relationship builder. Anywhere you put me, I'm going to show up in those 3 qualities. And so realigning with those qualities of what you're really good at and how you empower those people around you. Because any company, you're focused on people. Business and people are synonymous. So getting in that space where you're like, man, I just want to talk about the problems and the solutions, and how can I help? How can I help you? How can I help?
Okay, here's another question in chat, and then just hang on, Greg. How do you show confidence on a Zoom call? Are there any good tips? And I often have better luck when I meet in person.
Well, having lighting, excellent lighting. If you're going to do Zoom interviews, make sure.
Dorian and I were just chatting about that.
Yes, I'm standing in front of a
window.
window.
Light this week, and I think it's made a big difference already. I don't know. You tell me.
Yes, your Dorian, your positioning is great. You want chest up. You want to see some hand motions. You want excellent lighting. You want to look extremely professional, which you do, by the way. You want to make sure that there's eye contact. You have to make sure that there's eye contact. I almost guarantee you will not land anything if there's no eye contact. So find the space on your laptop where it's like, I'm looking at my camera, I'm looking at the blue dot on my laptop, I'm looking at the yellow paper. Find where you can have eye contact and make it seem like you're directly across from that person. Also, if you have a color scheme, like, for example, my white blazer is very much a part of my brand. I showed up at a speaking engagement without this. People looked at me funny. They're like, are you still Bridget Hom? Like, where's the white blazer? Very interesting. So have something that helps you to feel confident. Maybe you're going to wear the same blue blazer every interview that you do, whatever it is, have something that just launches you into, okay, game on. We're here. And smile. First and foremost, practice the smile. And I want you to, in your mindset, here's a mindset trick. You want to think about that person handing you $1 million before you even get on the call. So you're like, hi, I'm so happy to meet with you today. And they're like, wow, you are happy to meet with me. No idea why. Because you're like, I'm thinking about them handing me $1 million. So, or they already have given you $1 million. So go in your headspace, find what motivates you, and think about that person as being that bridge to getting you there.
I love that, because it is mindset, right?
Always.
Always. Okay, Greg.
Yes, thank you. One of the things that I think that helps you to not come off as being arrogant while you're maintaining your significant confidence about yourself is to be curious about the other people, be a good listener. And as long as you're a good listener, you're not going to come off as being arrogant. I think that make sure you're a good listener. In terms of being effective online and showing your confidence online, one of the things that I think a lot of people miss out on is they don't have good audio. Their computer audio is not good. They have reverberation or feedback. Make sure you have a good setup so your audio is not detracting from what you are saying. If you're listening to 15 people as an interviewer and 15 people sound like they have a tin can, they're speaking into a tin can, and 2 people sound like they're speaking with you in the room, the people with the good audio are automatically going to be more credible.
I absolutely agree with you. Also, having a virtual background that is not home based. Think about you. Think about if you see someone in a home background when they're going to the interview, you instantly think unemployed. Instantly. That's just the truth. So you can get a virtual office background anywhere. Just Google it. But you want to make sure that background, like this background was virtual office, I think .com. And it doesn't have like the weird, you know what I'm talking about, where your hair disappears. So you want a great virtual background, or if you have a great office to sit in, that's real, excellent. But you want to make sure that's a part of your selling point. That's a part of your strategy, because they know that you're looking for a job. But what's selling them is that the visuals of you're already successful.
Okay, what other questions? Okay, I use a Jabra speaker for the audio best mode. Okay, Jabra speaker suggestion.
Excellent. Question, anyone have any takeaways from our time together today? See Don smiling. Don's smiling. He's like, this is awesome. I'm feeling really good about everything.
Right. What other questions? We've got Bridget for a while. Any recommendations for marathon interviews? How to keep your energy confidence up over multiple hours and interviewers?
This is going to sound really silly, but really basic. If you're at home, do some jumping jacks in between interviews. I'm not kidding. Do some jumping jacks, jumping rope, do a brain dump in between, mentally rehearse, act like you're going into your first interview ever with all of your expertise behind you. So each interview, you want to reset before you go into that next interview. Reset mentally.
All right. Dan, did you have another question?
No, I just had a comment to follow on with Greg's comment, is make sure you have an excellent internet connection. You know, some people have 100 megabits per second, and that's not good enough for video and audio. You know, whoever your provider is, you know, if you don't have over 300 megabits per second, you're going to have all the issues Greg talked about.
Yeah.
And just since Bridget talked about know your technology, I kind of live and breathe that stuff.
Nice, Dan. Yeah, that's a great point. Audio, internet connection. Yes, if you're doing Zoom interviews, that can make or break an interview, because it's going to kill your personal connection as well as, well, your internet connection.
Jordana.
Hi,
Oops, you just.
Gordana. I don't know
Okay.
if you said hi, good morning. I just wanted to say, Bridget, that's some great energy. Thank you very much. And a couple of comments. You're absolutely right. Both points, I think one of our colleagues online said we need to be comfortable in what we wear. Some of us are comfortable in our stilettos, some aren't. But it's true, you know, some of us that are even more formal, every now and then, that one time out of 100 you go out and you may run into somebody at Trader Joe's. I recently I was doing completing my research study, and I ran into, we've become friends through the years, but the CEO of a health company, of all places, at Trader Joe's, instead of going home to change out of my jogging clothes, it was early evening, I went in, and it was really funny because I looked up and I thought, oh my God, and it was her. And then all of a sudden I started like seeing that I lost confidence, and I just kind of took a deep breath and told myself, well, you know what? I've seen her now. I can't hide. She sees me in my exercise clothes, and it happens. So even when that happens, I recognize, you know, seize the moment, and we stepped aside and had a little bit of a conversation. And I was thinking about it later, and I thought, well, for God's sake, at least she knows something about me, that I exercise, and it happens. I also wanted to say, with regards to the interviews, I'm transitioning back from the consulting back, and I'm finding that recruiters will find us sometimes, and I've learned the errors of my ways in the past several years, that it's good to be open and transparent. However, when we over disclose our vulnerabilities, I don't know that that's necessarily too good, because not everyone is the same, and there are some who will take advantage of that vulnerability, and then you sell yourself short when you're negotiating a salary. So be honest, but also be cognizant and careful. And I've learned to trust my inner box, that sometimes it's okay to even walk away from the second interview. It's just that mojo just isn't there. I just wanted to get your thoughts about that. Not to overanalyze, but sometimes it's not the right fit. And I've also learned something, and it started with when I went through the boot camp, and we talked about, we'd read the Gremlin book, but we also talked about being self-aware and listening to what we already know. So trusting our own selves and interviewing the interviewer back, asking them questions, because they too reveal themselves. And it's better to fall out of the interview process than do as it happens, you start, and then in less than 90 days, it's not the right fit. But during that time, you could have maybe found that right fit. There is no perfect employer or perfect employee, but there are ideal teams, and then you can work through. That's just off my soapbox. Some thoughts.
Awesome. And that actually brought another thought to mind. The reason Cyrus connected me to Christy was because it says I'm a motivational speaker on my LinkedIn profile. So what is your LinkedIn profile selling about you? Is it selling your best skill set? Is that visible in your headline? Make sure that that's visible. Because the truth is they're researching you based on your social media. So make sure your social media is in alignment with the presence you want to project.
That's a great idea. People talk about those LinkedIn headlines, and very few people do them. Rod Streets has a question following up on hiring the right mental team. I love that statement, Bridget. Once you've done the 2-minute brain dump, do you have a set of affirmations or identity statements that you use to reset your mind?
Well, absolutely. The truth is, you don't want to listen to anybody else's voice for affirmations. In my programs, I talk about the future successful self mantra, but you really want to create your own set of affirmations that are true for you. And you want to listen to your own voice, say them over and over again. So get a recording on your phone, say your awesome skill set, and rehearse it before you go into an interview. Don't listen to anybody else's voice. Your voice is the most potent. And you have to shift out of that negative voice that's always trying to seep back in. And so if you can reaffirm with your own positive voice, it will be more profoundly impactful than any other affirmations you'll find on YouTube.
Okay. How about this? Can you talk about your book, Stuck on Ready?
Absolutely. So Stuck on Ready is about really mastering the successful mindset. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and leaders. And so it says, master the successful entrepreneur mindset, break free from self-sabotage, and access your limitless potential. So I put a lot of emotional intelligence strategies in here, a lot of excellent nonverbal strategies to practice, but also how to maintain a high balance in your serenity account, your sanity account, and to increase your real bank account. There's no such thing as perfect action. Perfect action is procrastination. Those two are synonymous. So you want to be ready to launch into imperfect action. So everything within this book, I talk about social media strategies. I talk about my law of deservability, because we create our reality, our relationships, and our business and our opportunities based on what we believe we deserve, not what we desire. So many sabotaged individuals are all in, I want this, I want that, I want this, but they're not willing to take action. So the person who sits in what they believe they deserve, first identify the limiting beliefs that you're selling yourself, and then step into high deservability. And I have a couple of the different pillars of high deservability within my book, so that you can get realigned with yourself. So then you can emit that high empowering energy with that person in front of you. What
Okay,
else? Yeah, go on.
here's another question that just popped over to me. What are good questions to ask in an interview to understand if you are in alignment with the hiring manager and the company mission?
So I have you really want to set the tone for the interview. And sometimes in all of my one-on-ones, actually, I always say, hey, I'm really grateful that we're meeting today. And say, I'm curious, when you thought about us meeting today, what was your thought? And kind of taking ownership of the space and really getting inside their head as fast as possible. So asking them, I'm curious, when you thought about us meeting today, what was your thought? I was very excited to meet with you. And then within the questions, honestly, the way you can really take ownership of that space and your own expertise is getting them problem aware and solution seeking. That's the bottom line. If you could get someone problem aware and solution seeking within an interview, if you could start addressing their problems and showing them how they can solve their problems faster with your skill set and speaking out of your expertise based on stories that have happened in the past that can relate right there to them, then they're going to consider you more than anybody else. So asking, like you were saying, it's really about the first question that you start out with and how you're going to present in the interview. What's the fastest way that you can get inside their headspace on what they want out of this interview, what they were thinking about you. And that's going to give you confidence in continuing the conversation.
I love it. I love it. Bridget, what do you think about self-video in elevator pitch to present and brand? To use it, send it out as this is why you should hire me pitch or a virtual interview?
I think it's an excellent idea as an intention getter, not just an attention getter, to grab someone's intention for why I would be a good fit for you. And be ready to be very human, because the truth is in a lot of corporate cultures, we're lacking humanity. And we're looking for leaders to step up in this next movement in our culture as a whole, in corporate culture, to be more human. And so the more human you can show up, and then also sharing your expertise and saying, let me know if this is something I can absolutely help you with based on the problems that you're experiencing. If my expertise are a good fit, let's have a chat and hold that space for, I'm ready to help you if my expertise align with what
I love it. Because then it's like you're not needing, you're not assuming he's still with them.
Exactly.
So it's leveling the playing field, right? Okay, can we talk about your program? You mentioned it, and so what are the programs that you offer, Bridget?
So I am launching the Stuck on Ready program next Thursday. Very excited about that. It's going to become a self-paced, but I'm launching it live next Thursday. And that's coupled with group coaching for 6 months. I do have a 90-day one-on-one program where we choose your focus of what your future successful self is doing. And then we go from there. It's really about establishing those goals, and how we really do that is talking for 30 minutes, because I want to hear your problems and I want to hear if my solutions are a good fit for you. So I do have the Find Your Freedom Business, Find Your Freedom Life, Find Your Freedom Relationships, Find Your Freedom Health 90-day program. And for some, it's a combination of all of my programs into one. So it's really about, if you're experiencing certain matters that I can address, I will tell you I can absolutely help you with this, because it's about alignment. So I'll put my calendar link in the chat.
Okay, awesome. And we'll send it out with the link to the recording as well. Bridget, thank you so much. Any final words for people as they're going off? We have a couple of people that had to jump for interviews. Any final words on that?
Make your number one goal to show up well and authentically. Your number two goal to empower that person in front of you with solutions, no matter what. The interviewer, the person at Publix, the person at the grocery store, whatever that is, always seek to be empowering people and adding value to their lives.
I love it. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, everyone, we are signing off and looking forward to our next time, which is Tina, when is our next one?
That's a good question. It is April 14th, I believe.
Yep. Okay, that sounds good. So all of you enjoy the weekend, stay safe, enjoy the sunshine. We finally have some, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So
Have a great weekend.
here.
Bye,
Thank you so
guys.
much.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Bye, everyone.